Ripple and XRP are looking to reshape global finance. The XRP ledger is set up to disrupt 8 key areas. Those areas are world payment rail integration, CBDC government and adoption, tokenization of real world assets, liquidity hub adoption, regulatory green light, derivatives at world scale, escrow unlocked strategically, IMF ESDR, BIS tier 1. This is what we're going to get into in this video to better understand each one of these areas and how Ripple is going to interact with them and change the game. We also have some information coming from the founder, CEO of Uphold, talking about most of the XRP on Uphold is owned by XRP holders. This goes back to what we've been talking about here. There's not enough XRP on exchanges right now. With the ETF demand coming in, this could send XRP even higher. We're going to talk about that and so much more. I do have a clip here from Ripple Van Winkle talking about BlackRock CEO predicts 1,000 XRP. Let's go ahead and get into this. XRP is all the money phases. So I wanted to take a look at what he was saying here. I took the photos here and I did throw it into Perplexity. And this is kind of what we're looking at. The phases described outline a speculative roadmap in the XRP community for how much XRP could become deeply integrated into global finance. If these phases, such as global payment rail integration, CBDC adoption, and tokenization of real-world assets are achieved, major price prediction models anticipate significant price increases for XRP, with projections ranging from $8 to $100 depending on adoption levels and scenarios. Let's take a closer look. Global payment rail integration, swift migration to ISO 20022. I might have put too many zeros in there. Sets the groundwork for real-time interoperability. XRP would need to become the primary bridge for international payments, potentially setting trillions of dollars in daily instead of just messaging. So we know right now that Brad Garlink's house has said that he believes in the next 5 years, Ripple could take 14% of Swift's business. Now, I always thought this was a very strange number. Why 14? Usually when you're saying something kind of just random, like you put a little bit of thought into it, it's usually like 10%, 15%, 20%, right? You round up to that 5. If you have done an immense amount of research and really predicted, modeled this whole thing out to get to that 14%, that's where I think Brad's head is. I think they've done the math here on kind of what they can disrupt, who are their international partners and financial institutions that they are partnered up with, and what kind of demand could they take away from Swift by doing this. Now, Swift has been moving to ISO for the last few years. We do know about 50 to 60% of Swift's payments right now is using ISO 20022 messaging. You still have an issue with settlement though through all of this. Of course, you can use crypto to do that through ISO enriched enhanced data if banks choose to do instant payments. By November of this year, it is predicted that Swift will be on 86% of ISO 20022 payments, which means 86% of Swift's payments around the world will be through ISO 20022 messaging. So those payments will have the capabilities to settle with XRP and a few other cryptocurrencies. CBDC and government adoption. Central banks exploring CBDCs are mentioned as key partners. XRP is theorized to serve as a liquidity bridge between national cryptocurrencies, which could drive massive transaction flows. Now, if you take a look around at all of the central bank testing, the name that has come up more than any other name is Ripple. The second name is probably R3, and then HBAR, and then of course MasterCard. Those are probably the top 4 names that I've seen over the last 5 years. And the reason that this is important is because you have 95% of central banks in some kind of testing or piloting or rolling out phase. Usually what they're gonna do is there's 2 types of central bank digital currency. There's the wholesale version, which is central bank to bank. Then there's the retail version, which is you and I go into a store in a business and we buy something, okay? So usually these countries, they want to set up a wholesale CBDC first because then they can move value very cheaply, very quickly for little to no cost. And then they will roll out to retail. The reason is there's a lot of pushback in the retail space for CBDCs because of surveillance and control and all kinds of things, right? So governments are really trying to figure out how they can roll this out. We do have some updates from the European Central Bank that come October next month, they will be deciding whether to move forward with a CBDC in Europe, a digital euro, And they're working on all kinds of things like a digital ID and wallet. They're also working on some AI stuff as well. We're gonna get a lot of updates. I did a whole video on this a few days ago. If you're interested in trying to get some of those updates, please take a look at that video. Tokenization of real world assets in traditional institutions move stocks, bonds, commodities, and real estate onto the XRP ledger. The settlement volumes could vastly exceed today's crypto market, further raising demand for XRP. We know that NASDAQ, the CEO, just went on, live, this week, said that they are going to be moving a lot of the stock market to tokenized stocks, so the entire world can participate by, a fraction of a stock if you want to. This really is the future of settlement, to get to T+0, which is same day settlement. Right now, I think we're on T+1, which is 1 day settlement after, but think about how much money can be saved if you're using blockchain to settle all of this value. It could be immense. And so you start to look at like what is connected to NASDAQ. Well, it's the DTC and the DTCC and all this other stuff, right? And we know that the DTCC has been working for years to go towards blockchain settlement and integration. And, Ripple, XRP, XLM, HBAR, and a few others have been brought up in all of that. And there's patents too. I showed you all that already. Liquidity Hub and continuous demand. Ripple's Liquidity Hub targets institutional settlement, needs supporting a continuous non-speculative demand for XRP at scale. Regulatory green light, market analysis agree regulatory clarity could drive a step change in price for institutional decrease. And so here is kind of what all of this could look like if everything worked out the way that this is kind of put together. This is the price estimate. This would be the market cap. And, I think anybody would be extremely happy with $100 XRP or above. I know there's a lot of people that think XRP should be worth a whole lot more. And, I agree with you. And we'll see how all of this turns out. It does say experts warn that only incremental adoption in motion now and the pie in the sky targets like 500 or 1,000 are mathematically unlikely, barring an unprecedented global liquidity shock or sudden universal settlement shift. Now, yes, there could be a day where we can't kick the financial can down the road. We print to infinity and we deal with inflation and higher prices, and our dollar has lost 25% of its spending power in the last 5 years alone. So if you had $1,000 just sitting in the bank, that $1,000 may still look like $1,000, but it is only being able to buy $750 worth of stuff. That is the problem that people are facing keeping their money in the bank. And that's why there's a lot of people that believe they put their money into certain crypto assets, that those crypto assets will go up as the value of the dollar goes down. And at least it's a hedge against inflation. All right, Simon McLaughlin, which is a really dope name. You see Uphold listed among the biggest XRP holders, but those assets belong to our customers, not us. People remember who stood strong in difficult times. This holding is built on trust, not hype. Big difference. So a lot of this crypto that we see that's sitting on exchanges is already spoken for. This is what we've been trying to tell you. There's probably only 1 billion to 3 billion XRP that's actually available for people to buy, institutions to buy. And you start to wonder if there's ETFs get approved in numbers, right? If a dozen spot ETFs get approved, where's the XRP going to come from, right? And if there's not enough XRP, the XRP that is available will demand a higher price. Okay, fair enough. All right, here we go. Bombshell. Let's listen.
BlackRock CEO just dropped a bombshell. Bitcoin to 500,000, even 700,000. Larry Fink, he runs the largest asset manager in the world. $10 trillion under management. When he says Bitcoin can hit $500,000, guess what? People listen. And here's the kicker. If Bitcoin runs that high, what does that mean for XRP? XRP isn't just a store of value. It's actual financial infrastructure. It's the settlement layers for banks. BBVA, they're adopting it right now. If Bitcoin's narrative takes it to 500K, then XRP, the asset that's powering trillions in cross-border payments, hitting $1,000, well, that doesn't sound that crazy after all, now does it? Think about it. Bitcoin market cap, it could 10x. XRP, it doesn't need to match it. It just needs a fraction of that flow into banking rails that could send XRP parabolic. So here's the question. If BlackRock believes in the $700,000 Bitcoin, is a $1,000 XRP really that far-fetched? Drop your target below and smash.
All right, really quickly here, just to, if we're talking about a $700,000 Bitcoin, that's a 7x for Bitcoin. If XRP represents the same amount of market share that it does today, and if Bitcoin goes to that number, XRP's price won't be 1,000, it'll be 7x from what we are experiencing right now. So maybe $21. Now, to get to something like $1,000, you are going to need a lot of really bad things to happen in the world, and XRP and Ripple would be the solutions to fix those problems. Not saying that that's not going to happen, but even Jay Claver has come out and recently said that his price predictions of $750 or $1,000 would need to have like 6 or 7 catastrophic things happen. One is the collapse of the entire Japanese bond market, but we are starting to see that. The other would be Tether and Bitcoin collapsing itself and those people going into XRP. Now, I don't know if you think that that is going to happen. It is a far stretch for me over the next few months. I want Jake to be right more than, trust me, but I just I have, you are my audience. I need to be as clear as possible with my beliefs and my feelings to you because I owe you that much. You spend all of this time here. That's the least I need to do for you is tell you my heart, good, bad, ugly. I'm going to give it to you. All right. Radiconoman posted this: Ripple's Rail purchase covered in September, banking technology by fintech futures notes. Rail is said to be on track to process around 10% of global B2B business stablecoins this year. Now, Ripple, right? They bought Rail, they bought Medico, they bought Hidden Road. These are all strategic purchases of financial infrastructure. Remember, there are thousands of banks now realizing that crypto is the future. Some of these banks were not preparing. And so there's only so many infrastructure pieces on the planet right now. And since Ripple's been in the business for the last 13 years, they know a lot of the players already. They have built relationships, and they are one of the most trusted blockchain infrastructure company on the planet, hands down. It doesn't get higher than Ripple's connections. All right, you have people leaving the government to go work for Ripple. The ex-treasurer of the United States went to the board of Ripple. There are people in Ripple's company that you're like, why are those people? Like, those are some crazy people, right? They understand that Ripple is the future of digital infrastructure, and Ripple has been making mergers and acquisitions to lock up as much of the good stuff as they can because they know it's going to be worth billions, if not trillions, over the next few decades. That's it. All right. XRP whale movement, 10 million in XRP from Upbit Exchange to Destination Wallet. What's happening behind the scenes, guys? You are seeing a lot of whales jumping in. Now, there is a lot of stuff leading up to the ETF approvals. We saw this with Bitcoin. We saw billions of dollars going into Bitcoin leading up to it. Same thing could definitely happen for XRP. All right. Stern Drew put this out. Let's just go through a little bit of this really quickly. Christine Lagarde didn't just leave the IMF. She left Ripple in the IMF. You know what? I'm going to save this for the video, guys. We got 13 minutes already. This is going to go into 20 minutes. Let me just do this on another video. I love you so much. Thank you for being here, guys. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next one.